there's a driver named Valtteri Bottas who might join the Alpine racing team. After Wolff's recent comments, things have gotten even worse for a driver named Colapinto. During another tough weekend at Silverstone racetrack, Franco's job is now in big trouble. But will the driver from Argentina be able to keep his racing seat? And more importantly, will Alpine decide that enough is enough and it's time for an experienced driver to take over? If there's one thing that's very certain in the world of Formula One racing, it's that doing poorly is something that cannot be forgiven at all. Well, unless you're Lance Stroll. But we're not here to talk about that right now. We're here to talk about Franco Colapinto, a driver who was supposed to have an amazing career at Alpine after his time with Williams, only for him to do terribly with the Enstone-based team. There's no doubt that the French team is having big problems with their second driver because apart from Gasly, no one else is getting points right now. One very disappointing moment happened when Colapinto crashed in Silverstone and Briatore was seen with his face buried in both of his hands, showing how upset he was. Obviously this is not what Briatore wants to be doing as the team boss of Alpine, and I don't think he enjoys seeing his driver crash the way he did back in Silverstone. Right now, I think Colapinto doesn't believe in himself, and he's not showing everything he can do on the track, which hurts his team's chances of getting high points. And that's something that needs to change under Briatore's leadership, not just from 2026 onwards when Alpine will become a customer of Mercedes, but also in 2025 when a good race can be the difference between 10th place and 6th place in the team championship. So, what more could you ask for in these conditions when Valtteri Bottas is presented to your team as a real option? There have been talks between Briatore and Wolff about Valtteri's services not that long ago, but it seems like these talks have started again recently, and Toto is determined that he'll do anything it takes to see his backup driver get a full-time job in Formula One sooner rather than later. Talking more about this, Wolff said, "We've had discussions with Alpine multiple times. Actually, I saw Briatore today and we talked about Valtteri. It seems that the interest in Valtteri is increasing even more. He deserves that seat. If someone grabs him as a race driver, we'll let him go. Of course, with a tear in the corner of our eye ultimately, I give him advice. As a friend, Valtteri ultimately makes the choice with his management. I try to stay in the background. The situation in Alpine is very controversial. Jack Doohan started as Gasly's teammate after the horrible crash in Japan. The team decided that he's not the right person to finish the season. Instead of him, they brought in Colapinto, who had a very good showing in Williams for a couple of races and did challenge Albon on a few occasions. However, the Argentinian has shown why he hasn't been considered as a long-term driver for any team out there. He crashes too much. Franco continued those habits in Alpine as well, and now Briatore might see his words becoming reality. The flashy team boss said that they're going to try every single option out there in order to bring the best driver available on the grid, because they don't want to end the season in last place. We saw last year in Brazil how important those second and third place finishes of Ocon and Gasly were. Now that seems like a very distant goal for the Enstone-based team, but I don't think you have anyone else to blame but Colapinto. Even though I'm always a fan of young drivers, some of them are too reckless and crash too much. Hence, the replacement is desperately needed. Valtteri Bottas is now thinking about ditching the Cadillac project, and if we knew something about Briatore, it's that he'll never give up on something that he likes completely. Back in 2024, he had the opportunity to snatch Sainz away from Williams, and he almost succeeded, which goes to show that he is truly a fox in these negotiations. One of the advantages if Alpine signs Bottas instead of any other candidate, for starters, it's the engine knowledge. The Finnish driver has extremely good knowledge of the Mercedes engines, and during his time with the Brackley-based team from 2017 to 2021, he never missed out on a Q3 appearance and won 10 races. Of course, to expect that Alpine will be as highly competitive and winning races from 2026 as Mercedes was is a bit far-fetched. But at the end of the day, I don't think we can do much about it other than see the project being raised to a significant level, and Bottas is the perfect solution for that. Knowing the philosophy of Alpine and Briatore, they wouldn't think twice before putting Valtteri in the position of Colapinto, and you already know that that's something that would create a lot of buzz in the F1 world. It's going to be a bombshell on Cadillac as well. But these talks have been ongoing for quite some time now. Even Bottas admitted that there are ongoing talks between Briatore and Wolff, and when talking about this to a greater extent, he admitted that it's an option that might as well come to reality sooner rather than later. But what are the risks of Bottas joining Alpine in terms of his other choices in the sport? He'll be losing the chance of joining Cadillac, a team that's proven to be an extremely potential one because of all the hype they are entering with. Tons of American support and lots of new fans from the American continent are just part of the greater picture that Cadillac are going to show in the Formula One world. And their philosophy has been loud and clear. We need a driver who's going to be a veteran and a seasoned winner in the sport. And Valtteri checks out all of those boxes. On top of that, they want a younger candidate in the likes of Mick Schumacher. And whether we like it or not, it might be the perfect lineup for the American team coming into their first season in the sport. At the end of the day, It's not just Bottas who's been considered in the seat for Cadillac, and these hot and cold games that they've been playing with the American team could turn out to be fatal for his future in the sport. If Alpine somehow decides that Perez, the candidate that is also being considered by Alpine, is the better choice for the seat, then Cadillac might lose confidence in Bottas entirely. So, from two teams being interested in him, we're now going to see a scenario in which Valtteri might remain setless for 2026 if he risks too much. And interestingly enough, the top rival that he has for a return in Formula One is being a high-profile candidate for both teams, Cadillac and Alpine. However, Colapinto is not sitting idle either. The Argentinian has signed a contract with one of the most prominent sponsors of Perez, Claro, when it comes to securing his Formula One future. Of course, this doesn't really guarantee anything, as of Franco keeping his seat alive, but it's definitely a great move in the right direction. And we should know it better than anyone else. Alpine is now making a move for a driver who could be scoring points on a frequent basis, and more importantly, keep the car on track without crashing it in every other event. Now for Alpine, the priority is to work on upgrades and try and replicate at least 50% of the success that Sauber replicated in the past couple of races. With a stellar performance, they've outscored Red Bull in the past 5 events, and Hülkenberg scored 31 points compared to Max's 29 ever since Spain. But things are not looking great for Franco because of the current nature of his contract. He's on a race-to-race basis after his initial contract expired after the Austrian Grand Prix. The Argentinian driver said loud and clear that while his performance hasn't been top-notch, he isn't worried that it might turn into something that would ruin his F1 career at all. Talking more about this, Franco said, "I'm not very concerned about not being in the car for the Belgian Grand Prix. Of course, there's always talk. I just need to keep working and trying to help the team to improve their car. Today was not ideal. I think we need some good steps, but definitely not what we wanted. All in all, a very interesting period awaits us because of all the movements that are being made by Franco Colapinto and Flavio Briatore. Alpine are lacking stability, and as of now, the two serious candidates to replace the Argentinian driver are Bottas and Perez. If the French team wants to go with a bit more stability, then the perfect choice would be in Sergio Perez, because of the financial injection they'll be bringing to the team. However, if they want to go with a driver who's proven to be a Mercedes winner, especially now that Alpine will take over Mercedes engines from 2026 onwards, then Bottas is the right choice. But we need to be hearing from the drivers as well. You can't just discuss things if they're not open for a move. In this highly competitive world of Formula One, you're given chances extremely rarely, and if you fail to take the most out of them, then I don't think you're in a good position to make a return again. With all of this in mind, what do you think about the situation in Alpine right now? And more importantly, do you think that Colapinto will be replaced after everything that's happened with him in the past? Couple of races with Silverstone being the culmination point. Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.